3:14 in the morning. Udeid Air Base, Qatar. The desert night is silent for exactly 3 seconds after the first radar warning sounds. Then the first Sumar cruise missile arrives. It hits the center of the main runway and vaporizes 3 tons of reinforced concrete in a single detonation. Before the echo of that impact reaches the flight line, 39 more Sumar missiles arrive in a timed sequence designed to cover every usable surface on the base simultaneously. The runway is destroyed. The taxiways are cratered. The approach paths are blocked by burning debris. Inside the hardened aircraft shelters, F-35 Lightning IIs sit fully armed and fully fueled. They are technological masterpieces worth more than $100 million each. They are also completely unable to take off from a runway that no longer exists. The Iranian strategy was not complicated. They did not need to destroy the aircraft. They only needed to break the floor. The base is silent. The sky above the Strait of Hormuz is empty. And the Iranian naval blockade moves into position with complete confidence that nothing can reach them from the air. 50 miles to the north, a stretch of public highway begins to vibrate. There are no runway lights here. No ground crew in reflective vests. No air traffic control. Just 4 lanes of asphalt that has not been repaired in 5 years, running straight through the desert between 2 anonymous hills. From the darkness, 2 engines begin to whine at maximum thrust. An Iranian reconnaissance drone circling at 30,000 feet locks its infrared camera onto the thermal signature. What it sees makes the Iranian observers confident. They are looking at an A-10 Thunderbolt II. A ground attack aircraft with its first flight in 1972. A plane the United States Air Force has been trying to retire since the early 1990s. The Iranian commander notes the coordinates and orders a nearby surface-to-air missile battery to prepare an engagement solution. He is not worried. The A-10's engines reach maximum thrust. There is a specific reason those engines are mounted high on the tail of the aircraft, above the fuselage and far from the ground. They were placed there to prevent them from ingesting the debris and gravel kicked up from rough, unprepared, or damaged surfaces. A runway does not need to be smooth. It does not need to be long. The A-10's straight wings generate enormous lift at low speeds, and its heavy-duty landing gear was designed to handle surfaces that would collapse the undercarriage of a more refined aircraft. The jet lifts off in under 3,000 feet and climbs into the night sky. Under its wings are 16 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs on quad racks installed during a classified 2026 upgrade program, along with AGM-65 Maverick missiles and 30,000 pounds of total ordnance. The plane the Pentagon wanted to retire is currently the only combat aircraft in the air over the Persian Gulf. And it is heading directly toward the center of the Iranian naval blockade. The A-10 appears on Iranian radar screens as a large, unmistakable return. It is flying at 400 miles per hour. It is flying low. To the Iranian radar commanders watching the display, this is almost an insult. A slow-moving aircraft from 50 years ago, flying without stealth, without supercruise, without any of the signature reduction that makes a modern combat aircraft survivable in a contested environment. They assume the A-10 must approach within 2 miles to use its famous cannon. They have missile batteries that can engage it from 20 miles. They raise the power on their engagement radars and begin building a targeting solution. This is exactly what the A-10 wants them to do. Inside the A-10's nose, the 2026 upgrade's APG-83 active electronically scanned array radar is operating in passive collection mode, cataloging every radar emission in the operational area, mapping exact GPS coordinates of each emitter, and building a 3-dimensional picture of the entire Iranian coastal defense network. The Iranian Sayyad-3 battery fires. The missile climbs, arcs over, and begins its terminal dive with its seeker head locked onto the A-10's heat signature. On the original 1970s airframe, this would be the end of the engagement. But the 2026 upgrade included the ALQ-213 electronic warfare management system. In the milliseconds after missile launch detection, the system projects a digital decoy signature 500 yards to the left of the actual aircraft. To the Sayyad-3's guidance computer, the sky suddenly contains 2 A-10s flying on slightly different headings. The seeker head cannot resolve the ambiguity. It selects the stronger return, which is the decoy. the missile impacts the ocean. The A-10 has not broken its flight path. It is still coming. At 40 miles from the Iranian coastal radar installation at Bandar Abbas, the A-10 releases its first payload. 16 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs glide silently through the night air on powered wings, completely invisible on radar at their small cross-section. 4 bombs arrive simultaneously on the primary radar dish. The steel lattice structure of the antenna collapses in a controlled sequence of precision detonations. 4 more bombs find the command and control trailers that process the radar data and distribute targeting information to the missile batteries. The electronics inside are vaporized. The remaining 8 bombs locate the Sayyad-3 launch vehicles. The missiles still sitting on their rails cook off in a series of secondary explosions that send shrapnel cascading down the cliff face for half a mile in every direction. In 60 seconds, without entering the engagement range of a single Iranian missile system, the A-10 has eliminated the entire coastal air defense network that was supposed to prevent anything from reaching the naval blockade. It did this from beyond the horizon, using bombs that glide in silence and arrive without warning. The Iranian tactical manual had no response prepared for this. Their defense grid was designed to kill aircraft that approached. It was not designed for an aircraft that kills from a distance its opponents did not believe it possessed. The Strait of Hormuz is now visible on the A-10's targeting displays. 50 Iranian fast attack boats are operating in a coordinated swarm pattern, zigzagging through the water at high speed, spreading across the waterway in an overlapping formation designed to present too many simultaneous targets for any single defense system to prioritize. Each boat carries heavy machine guns and Noor anti-ship missiles. Their collective firepower is intended to overwhelm a U.S. destroyer through sheer volume of simultaneous attack vectors. The A-10 descends to 500 feet above the wavetops and begins its gun run. The Iranian boats open fire. Their heavy machine guns send thousands of rounds into the low-flying aircraft. Tracers light the sky around the A-10 in overlapping streams. Every round that connects with the fuselage hits a plane built specifically to absorb this kind of punishment. The cockpit is surrounded by a bathtub of aerospace-grade titanium armor weighing 1,200 pounds, rated to stop a direct hit from a 23mm anti-aircraft shell at point-blank range. The machine gun rounds from the fast attack boats are deflecting off the fuselage without penetrating. The A-10 fires its first AGM-65 Maverick. The missile crosses the distance to the lead Iranian boat at 700 miles per hour. Its infrared seeker locks onto the heat of the engine in the boat's stern. The impact drives the engine block through the bottom of the fiberglass hull. The boat disintegrates. The A-10 is already selecting its next target. Then the engagement changes. An Iranian frigate, positioned behind a large commercial tanker and invisible to the A-10's targeting system, fires a shoulder-launched infrared heat-seeking missile at close range. There is no time for countermeasures at this distance. The missile hits the A-10's right engine. The engine housing is engulfed in fire. Shredded turbine blades are ejected through the engine casing like shrapnel from a fragmentation grenade. The right tail fin is perforated by debris. The aircraft lurches violently to the right with its nose dropping toward the water. The Iranian boat crews watch the burning engine and wait for the Warthog to go into the Gulf. It does not. The A-10's twin engines are mounted outside the fuselage, separated by the full width of the airframe. A fire in the right engine cannot propagate to the left engine or to the fuel tanks located inside the fuselage structure. The twin tail fins are designed so that if one is damaged or destroyed, the remaining fin provides enough directional stability to keep the aircraft flying. The fire suppression system floods the right engine with extinguishing agent. The fire goes out. The A-10 levels its wings and continues the gun run on one engine with half its tail shredded and hydraulic fluid streaming from damaged secondary lines. The Iranian boat crews, who expected an explosion, instead see the nose of the A-10 begin to glow. The GAU-8 Avenger, a 7-barrel Gatling cannon the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, generating 10,000 pounds of recoil force, spins up to speed. The first burst covers a cluster of 5 Iranian fast attack boats. The 30mm shells that miss the boats impact the water surface and detonate on contact. The pressure waves from near-miss detonations alone are enough to damage the lightweight fiberglass hulls. The shells that connect are catastrophic. The first boat is structurally separated into two pieces by the force of direct hits. The second boat's fuel tank is struck and ignites immediately. The third and fourth boats are destroyed by the overpressure of rounds impacting the water immediately adjacent to their hulls. The A-10 walks the line of fire across the formation. In 10 seconds of trigger time, 12 Iranian fast attack boats have been removed from the engagement. The remaining boats turn toward the Iranian coast at maximum speed and do not return. The damaged A-10 descends toward the desert highway. As it approaches, the ground below erupts. Iranian intelligence has been tracking the aircraft since takeoff and has pre-programmed a A-10 short-range ballistic missile battery to strike the highway coordinates. The first missile hits 500 yards ahead of the A-10's approach path, creating a crater 40 feet wide and 10 feet deep. The A-10 does not abort. The aircraft's heavy-duty landing gear flexes over the smaller crater debris. It swerves around burning material from the missile strike and stops in the dirt off the road shoulder.